It just like made us more hungry. And we just continued to want more and more and more and demand more of ourselves and more of others to get to that point where we were able to finally have that success and beat Texas in the Big 12 tournament, something that we've just been dreaming of.
Welcome to Fitter Every Day, the show where we break fitness into bite-sized bits to help make you fitter every day. Today we are joined by a very special guest. This is the most recently participating athlete that we've had on the show. This is Morgan Kane. She is a former Iowa State basketball player. She is not done with her college eligibility, so she will be playing at a basketball arena near you sometime soon. She is also currently working with us as a coach for our Acceleration Iowa program over the course of the summer. So, Morgan, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
So we like on the show to get people with different perspectives on whether it's athletics or success or how fitness and programming works. And you've had both athletics, success, and working fitness programming. So for those people that are not familiar with the women's basketball world or the Iowa State world, let's catch them up a little bit on Morgan Kane. So let's start with describe a little bit about your kind of what you did in college, and then we'll backtrack a little bit to get back there. So what was your most recent athletic stuff that you went through?
Like all of college?
Yeah. I mean, not just distill it a little bit.
Okay. So freshman year started 2018.
Okay.
Came to Iowa State, ended up redshirting, decided to redshirt, best option for me. There were just a lot of post players in my position. So redshirted and then played for 4 years of eligibility. So I essentially used my redshirt year. And now I have one extra year, my COVID year for eligibility.
Okay. Total side note. Does that COVID year work where you just got to go to compliance and say, yes, I would like to play another year?
Yeah, it's just given. Yeah.
That's so great.
Which is awesome because we were able to play an entire season. And the only games we couldn't play was the Big 12 tournament and then the NCAA tournament.
Which I'm sure was disappointing that you couldn't play the Big 12 tournament, the NCAA tournament.
So disappointing. We were coming off of such a high. We had just beat number 1 ranked Baylor. They've had records, like they were undefeated for years. And we beat them on senior night by 1 point. So we were coming off of such a high and then nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then no more playing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like the crash course. We'll get back to Iowa State, all you Iowa State fans. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So what I am interested in, so we had Josh Lenz on this podcast, and he got one scholarship offer out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any. I came in as a walk-on. You are a tall, athletic basketball player. What was your recruiting like? So like high school and even younger, did you know that you were going to be playing high-level basketball from what age?
I knew from starting freshman year of high school, maybe 8th grade, that I wanted to play college athletics, and my goal was to get a scholarship.
Okay. And you grew up in Utah?
Yep.
Okay. What part of Utah?
Right outside of Salt Lake City.
Okay. And now how is the basketball scene in Salt Lake City, Utah, as far as women's basketball and or just competitive basketball?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I've seen other states that are much better, and I've seen other states that are much lower in women's basketball. You have BYU, you have University of Utah, Utah State. So you have college programs where young women can go watch and support. So I think that's very positive that we can see just female role models in women's basketball. And during my high school years and AAU club basketball was when it was starting to grow and expand. So there were starting to become more AAU teams growing and developing, and you could have the Adidas sponsored or the Nike sponsored, and you can travel to the Midwest and you could be seen by more people. But for my own experience, my AAU team, I stuck with just the local Utah Flash was what it was called, the tried and true. I had been with them and I just felt most comfortable with those coaches. And so my AAU experience was more on the West Coast. Okay. So I didn't travel to the Midwest much.
So how did you get hooked up with Iowa State then? Is it through camps or is it through a coach? Mm-hmm. I mean, how did you get that to happen?
Yeah. So one of the biggest tournaments that Utah Flash was a part of was the
Utah Flash.
I know, it's a cool name, but they're so small. We were in Phoenix, Arizona for a big tournament. Basically, they lay all this, like the floors that connect.
Like the little click together. Is it like the gray kind of click together floors or like actual basketball floors?
It's like the click together.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
the ball sort of bounces.
We're in like a big football arena, and there's tons of basketball courts. This huge tournament, and a lot of college coaches go there. And so my recruiting experience was a lot of mid-major schools. Always dreamed to have the Power 5, the bigger schools, but just trying to work as hard as I can for what I could get. And Iowa State was actually recruiting one of my best friends on the team.
Who was that?
Her name was Cassidy Johnson. She's a 6'5" post player.
Okay. So
they needed a big man. They were recruiting her. We ended up talking, and she was like, "Nah, man, I ain't going to Iowa." And Iowa State, one of the assistant coaches, watched me play.
Because she was watching her play.
Because they were watching my friend and ended up kind of loving my style of basketball and just the way I interacted with my teammates and what I was able to provide. And so afterwards, they kind of through my AAU coach talked to me and said, "We want you to come to our Iowa State camp, and if we like you, we'll offer you, and if not, nice to know you." And some people say that that's kind of brutal that they said that, and I really appreciated the honesty.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really like too. And I don't know, so you were talking with like mid-majors and stuff. Did you get sort of flirtation from any other high major programs at all? Because, so bring a little background to this. So in recruiting, because there is the necessity of getting athletes to your school, a lot of times, recruiters are salesmen. That's more or less what it is. Yeah. They're a good salesman and they're a bad salesman. And in those positions, sometimes you get told true stuff and sometimes you get told what they think you want to hear. And so recruiting for me, again, I didn't have any scholarships. It was very stressful because you weren't sure what to trust. And so then you were talking about how they said, if we like you, we'll offer you. If we don't, nice to know you. It's straightforward and it's honest, which is something that really cuts through the noise in recruiting. Did that hold true that when you were recruiting when you were getting recruited by other schools, that it wasn't quite as honest or straightforward a process as you would have liked?
I would say with the higher D1 level schools, there was that flirtation, but never true commitment, or never telling me what I want to hear instead of being just completely transparent and honest. And that's just part of the business of college athletics, I think.
Yeah. Is that sort of how, when you did get to Iowa State, did that hold true? Because Bill Fennelly is the coach at Iowa State and has been the coach at Iowa State for like 74 years. But it's
75.
Oh, sorry, 75. Sorry. So it feels like that is the way that communication happens. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of pomp and circumstance with the Fennelly family. Did that hold true when you were recruited, from the time you were getting recruited to that camp? Because I would imagine the camp went well because you came there for several years. Did that hold true when you were actually playing? Was it essentially, here's what it is. This is the expectation. Do this. Call it good.
Yeah, it really did hold true, and that was a big reason from them talking to me on the phone while I'm at Utah, like in the state of Utah, to actually going on my visit and being in the camp atmosphere, interacting with the girls. I felt like it was 100% truthful in that small little time frame. And so I felt comfortable. I'm like, yeah, this is where I want to be. And I'm really lucky that they were very transparent with me throughout my entire experience. And everything that they told me stayed true. And so I think that just goes to show kudos to the Iowa State women's basketball program. And I think the coaches have been there for so long that they got a good system. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. And it's just tried and true.
Yeah. So you're playing basketball in Utah. You get recruited. You're going to these camps. I mean, I would imagine tall, but like the physicality of the game wasn't something you were quite ready for, because I feel like that's the way it is with any major. What was the welcome to the league, rookie. Did you have any of those type moments when you went from high school into college?
Yeah, it's very different. And, you can prepare for it only so much. Like, I worked my butt off that my last summer before going to Iowa State, trying to train my hardest to be as prepared as I can. But it's just a completely different arena that you're playing in. It's faster. The girls are stronger. They've been there for a couple of years. They know the system. The IQ is higher. So there's so many different things. I remember one of my first practices. So Iowa State women's basketball, we have scout players, so male players that play against us to help make us better. And then in the season, they mimic the tendencies of girls that we're going to be playing on other teams, so they can help us. And one of the first practices of the summer, we're just scrimmaging with the boys, and this player that I was guarding, his name's Charlie, and he's 6'5", and he was a freshman as well, and he ends up dunking on me and just slams it, actually. And I just remember thinking, like, it's time to go back to Utah. I'm done. I can't do this. Because I was like, if this is how it's going to be, like, it just completely made me reevaluate all my life choices.
This is what college basketball is. You're going to get dunked on.
Welcome.
Welcome to the league. Oh, man. Okay, so there is you mentioned that you redshirted too, and you also mentioned you were getting dunked on in practice. But when you're in that redshirt year and you are, whether it's just random, you're scrimmaging against people that you don't ever get to see the floor with, you are in these physical kind of grueling stuff. Describe that redshirt year.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing for me. I took one too, and that having to sit back was really hard, but it was really important for kind of the growth of it. You mentioned that you took a redshirt year. What was your redshirt year like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the guy was not supposed to dunk, so he got in trouble. So that wasn't the norm, and I was like, okay, I can keep going. We'll be fine if I don't get dunked on again. But the redshirt year, so I'm in my summer right before my freshman year, because we get there in the summer, and redshirt is not on my mind. I'm just playing as hard as I can. I'm competing. I'm learning the plays. I'm interacting with the girls, just getting a feel for it. And then when fall came, coaches kind of came up to me and just said it in a very respectful and honest way of, we think this would be best for you. There were a lot of post players in my position. My IQ was a lot lower of the college realm game of understanding everything and just kind of moving at a slower pace, trying to think things out instead of just playing. And so talking to my family, it was the best decision for me. And at first I was like, I'm not redshirting. Like, I just feel like there's such a stigma of, you're redshirting, you're behind. Yeah. I don't know. That's what was in my mind of, like, it's bad to redshirt. And I just remember talking with my family and, all right, I'm going to redshirt and I'm going to do everything I can to be ready this next season. And so for those who don't know, with redshirting, you can't play in any games, but you're at every practice, you're at every lift. I had the fortunate opportunity to travel with the team because we have such a small team. That
just in case 3 people get hurt and they need a body, they can pull your red shirt and they can say, all right, you're playing now if there's worse comes to worse.
Yeah, but that was never like,
right.
That would never happen, but
theoretically that's why you're
theoretically.
traveling.
And so just kind of in my own mind just said, I wrote down some goals for myself because I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I said I want to get stronger, I want to get faster, I want to know the plays inside out. I want to get as much information I can from the older post players and learn from them. So I was asking them questions. I was seeing what they were doing, what works, what doesn't work. So I was always studying the game, even if I wasn't playing, And then another thing that I really wanted to do was just be the best teammate I could be and cheer everyone on and just create such a culture of connectedness. That was really, really important to me. And so, every travel game, 6 a.m. workouts, lifting with the strength coach and doing conditioning drills with a fellow redshirt girl that was with me, and just grinded for a year.
Yeah, and that kind of the thought process you're kind of talking about is all those things are active choices. Like, you don't happen into a good situation, you put yourself in a good situation. Because so when you're like athletically, one of the things that it's a weird dynamic, and I think it's true in football, but I feel like it's more in basketball because there's more opportunities in basketball because there's only one quarterback that's playing. There's only one center that's playing in football. There's only one, running back, usually maybe have two. So there's like one person that's going to be on the field at that time. With basketball, you could play 3 bigs and 2 guards. You can play 5 guards. You can play, you can play 5 bigs. And there's an ability to kind of get on the floor. But one of the weird things about athletics is that, like, you are both competing with and competing against your teammates, especially in situations where playing time is on the line. And the choice to say, I would like to support my teammates, even though they may be taking minutes from me, objectively, if you think about it, you shouldn't support them. Like, if you think about just exclusively rationally, you shouldn't be supporting your teammates. And so if you're looking at that from the outside in, as this situation's not great, you're redshirting, you're not playing. They told you you're not good enough to play. Just framing this in a negative light. You're not good enough to play. You have to travel and you have to watch everybody else have fun, and you can't participate in the things that you're doing. Oh, and the girls that are on the floor, some of them are going to be back, and they're going to get more experience. They're going to be better than you. And so if you look at it through that lens, it sucks.
Yeah.
And that happens to you. You don't get to then do it. But your thought process there of saying, I'm going to be the best teammate I can be. I'm going to work to be as strong as I can. I'm going to work to understand this as much as I can. That's a choice. And that's a thing that, like, choosing to be positive in situations, sports or not, that's a giant X factor. No one has ever been successful in a sport being a negative Nancy the entire time, that everything's bad. When you got done with your redshirt year, did you feel like you had made did you feel like those goals that you had during that year into the next season, because that would have been 2019, the first 2019 basketball season? Did you feel like you benefited from that, or did you feel like you were like, man, I wish I would have played, that these other girls are in front of you? How was that year coming off of your redshirt year?
Yeah. Just having a strong mindset, it wasn't a choice to pity yourself in my mind. This redshirt year, I came to play, and I'm going to make the most of it so that I can play. And looking back, I think it was the best decision I made, and I really made the most of it. I don't have any regrets with my redshirt year, and I'm really grateful that I can say that, because it could have easily gone the other way. But I was able to start that 2019 year and say, oh, I'm a lot better than last year, and and I'm able to compete with these girls now, where I can keep up and I can push them around a little bit, and I know their tendencies, and I know, girls from other Big 12 teams, and I know what they're like. And so I was able to, I felt like I had an edge.
Yeah.
I felt like I had an advantage compared to other girls, because I still have 4 years. I still have time.
Yeah. And this is, I think that probably would have benefited you even more in different situations, because, like, the thing I'm thinking about is one of the 3rd overall pick in the WNBA draft last year, I think 3rd overall, 5th overall, Steph Suarez. 4th overall. Sorry, close. So 4th overall pick in the WNBA draft, Steph Suarez was brought in to play a position that you play.
Yeah.
But you ended up still playing. Like, how was emotionally? So fast forwarding from that 2019 season, you guys went through that COVID year, didn't get to play the end of the COVID year, into the 2021 season. You guys have some success.
Went to the Sweet 16.
You have a really good team, and then they bring someone in that play a similar position to you. That couldn't have been super comfortable. What was that like when you were, and did they tell you they're going to bring her in, or did they just, hey, we're having this 6'6" basket, the stud from Brazil come in? What was that process like that season, kind of going into it? Because, again, you ended up being a critical component of that team, but you could have had a pity party because they brought in someone that plays your position.
Yeah. Backstory real quick. So in my 2019 year, they brought in a transfer post player, and they had a stud of a 4 or 5 man. Okay, and so I was competing for that third man place, and I got in a little bit. I made the most of my 2 to 3 scrub minutes. Or if they both got in foul trouble, I was like, all right, this is it.
7 minutes this game. Let's go.
I'm as cold as ice on the bench, but I'm getting put in. So, like, let's go. Just, like, continually having that mindset of, like, all right, this is your chance. You're taking advantage of every moment you have, whether that's in practice or in a little game for 2 minutes. And so that was great having that small exposure, getting a taste for being on the court and being like, okay, I want more. I want more of this. And then in the 2020 year, they had another transfer, and so same mindset. Are like, all right, I'm gonna beat you. You know, just having that like I got to be better, and then in games switching that mindset of okay, we're on the same team. So going from practice, I'm competing against you, I'm battling against you, and then in the game, we want the same goal. And then 2021, 22, they bring in another transfer, one of my best friends now from Portugal, and we battle it out in the summer, and it's the same thing. All right, there's a starting position, and it's open, and whoever wants it. And so we worked super hard over that summer. We competed, but once we stepped off the court, we were friends, you know? And then once games started, it was like there was no animosity. It was like we have the same goal, you know? And so when Stephanie came in, I'm not as tall as Stephanie. I can't touch the rim like Stephanie can. And so just understanding my own strengths. I had worked for, 4 or 5 years understanding what I'm good at and what I can contribute and not apologizing for what I'm not. So when Steph came in, I thought, hey, I'm really strong at defense. I can grab a rebound and I can push a girl out with a strong base. And whenever I got into the game or during summer workouts, just always trying to do the best that I can do. And the coaches know what I can contribute. So just being very true to myself and not trying to be something I'm not, because Steph has very different skill sets than me. And then in the games, just understanding, yeah, I'm not going to play in this game because we really need a tall girl. And great. All right, I'm going to cheer you on and do the best I can and give you all the knowledge I have that I've built over 4 or 5 years. And then in other games, okay, we need Mo in the post. Great, I can push someone around. Kind of that mindset.
Yeah, and that, again, it's a choice. Like that, I love just kind of the attitude you're having because it describes what I feel like is a really healthy athlete mindset, which like there's a little bit of FU that lives in every athlete. And you were talking about that like during practice, which is like, you're one of my best friends, but I want to bury you right now.
Yeah.
Like we're practicing against each other. I will die before you get this rebound. And that just trigger of a switch. But then as soon as you get to the point where it's, you know, you recognize you're on the same team, you're on the same goal, then all right, we're fighting together. Now we have this kind of FU thing against the opposing post. And now let's go get her together. But having that choice of making sure that for lack of a less crude metaphor, that kind of FU cannon, when that's pointed in a good direction, you can do a lot of good with it. When that's pointed at your teammates or at yourself or at your coaches or you're not playing me, I'm mad at you. Or I deserve more than this because I got X, Y, and Z. Or I'm mad at Steph because she came in and got the minutes. Or I'm mad at whatever. Is that competitive switch, putting it in the right direction, that's a choice. It's just like you were talking about, like in the redshirt years, you could pity yourself and say, oh, they're not redshirting and I'm redshirting. Womp womp. Oh, they brought in a transfer. Womp womp. And everything, no matter what you do in sports, if you look for a reason to feel bad about yourself, you're going to find one. But you're kind of choosing to feel that this is my opportunity, this is my strength, this is what I'm good at. And that, if there are any athletes out there that are looking for information on how to be successful in a sport, it's that. And so how would you describe how that attitude, because it felt like that attitude existed with you guys in the 2021-22 and 22-23 seasons, which is why you went Sweet 16, Big 12 championship back to back. Did that attitude carry to everybody? Because it sort of felt like when you're watching games, that's sort of what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. That attitude did carry. And, the choice that I had to make every day, because it's not easy to make that choice. And sometimes your mind gets into that dark hole of, poor me, they just brought in someone better. You just got to get out of that mindset and think, okay, no, I'm choosing to be here today and to give it everything I have. And I think that was the expectation and the mindset of the entire team. And one great example is when Stephanie re-tore her ACL in the second Big 12 game of the season. Mm-hmm. And the whole team had a panic moment of, oh my gosh, what do we do? We're doing so well. And we all had to rely back on that mindset of trusting ourselves, being confident in ourselves, and continuing to push ourselves every day and trusting each other of we're battling together. And it became such a unified team goal and expectation instead of being individualized, poor me, of we just lost someone, we're done for.
Uh-huh. And then recognizing that if as a part of a team, you are part of that team. And now that sounds like duh, but if the team is a giant circle and you're a piece of that circle, your attitude affects the direction of that circle. And so if you say that screw these people, or this bad thing happened, I'm going to let myself get pulled down by this, well, you're pulling down the whole team because you are part of the team. A part, not an expression, literally a physical component that comprises the bigger part. If there is a component of a tree that is rotted, that tree has a chance to fall down from that one rotted spot. If that component of that tree is strong and the other members of that tree are strong, you can lose one or two. You can have a bad thing happen. You can kind of stand back up from it. So that was, the resilience that it takes to do that. Would you say there is a difference, or rather, instead of would you say, what would you say the difference is between the Sweet 16 and Big 12 championship teams and teams that you'd had before, if there was anything in attitude, or because in sports, luck is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes shit doesn't go your way. But would you say that there was a difference in attitude, execution, or luck in the more successful teams versus the less successful teams that you had?
I think with the last 2-year teams we've had, it's been a grind, and we are the Big 12 championship team, the 2022-23. Yes, we were much older. We had juniors and seniors, and so we had kind of come from adversity and struggle in those first couple years of trying and failing and coming close, but not having that luck or not being able to get over that hump. And I think the adversity that we experienced in those first couple years, even COVID, not getting that Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament, it just made us more hungry. And we just continued to want more and more and more and demand more of ourselves and more of others to get to that point where we were able to finally have that success and beat Texas in the Big 12 tournament, something that we've just been dreaming of. And we didn't know if that was a possibility in this most current year, but we were going to throw everything we had to get it to that point. So it's easy to look at a team and be like, man, they're so good. They just won the Big 12 tournament. No, it took a lot of blood, sweat, tears, hard days, just so much adversity and challenge to get to that point.
And retrospectively thinking that that's the best thing that could have happened is thinking that those bad moments fueled the good ones.
Yeah.
So learning that, hey, maybe bad moments aren't all that bad.
Yeah, and I think it's learning, taking that bad experience and not letting it drag you down, instead slingshot you up higher. And just using all those experiences, learn from it, move on, get in the gym the next day, and fix it, change it, make it better. And I think that goes to show you you need everyone to be in that positive mindset so you can continue to excel forward. Because if you have someone negative, it's just so hard. It's so easy to bring everyone down.
Yeah. So beyond basketball, because you have another year left. We'll get to what the future is. You also, I mentioned that you're working with Acceleration Iowa this summer. That you are a kinesiology undergrad and you are a human performance master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Why that field? Why our field? Why do you want to get into what we're doing? What made you want to do this in the first place?
Yeah. My own personal experiences. I was fortunate to be a part of a private sector gym as an athlete my freshman year of high school. My brother got me in. He's like, you got to train with this guy. Like, he seems legit. And I was like, okay, I'm just this skinny 6 foot person. I don't even know how to squat. I'm just so green.
All knees and elbows.
Oh, yeah. Just falling all the time. My knees hurt because I'm growing like a weed. And I'm very grateful my brother had a connection in the strength and conditioning field, which I had no clue about my freshman year. My parents didn't know anything about. And it's just like, it's new. It's the start. It was the start of strength and conditioning in youth sports. Mm-hmm. And got to be a part of Jordan Pendleton's gym. And he just started me from day one. And we worked on the basics. We worked how to land. We still laugh about this. My first couple of weeks there, we were doing like jump landing. And every time I landed, my knees would touch. Every time. And he's like, I don't know how you haven't torn your ACL.
Like a baby deer.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to land properly. And it was awesome to see that progress from my freshman year to the last day I said bye to them before I left to Iowa State. My confidence increased. I was stronger. I was able to play the game better. And I just was able to fit into my body. And I truly believe that doing that strength training in high school prevented me from tearing my ACL and getting injured. And from getting injured, period. And then my redshirt year was a huge year that I just fell in love with strength and conditioning because I was with our strength coach, Cassandra, 24/7. Like, I was in there before practice. I was in there after practice, 6 a.m. workouts on the road. I was always asking her questions. And she was engaging with me too. And she'd send me podcasts and books to listen to. And, hey, check out this guy. She was just always stimulating my brain. And she was always letting me question things. Why are we doing this? Why I was that annoying kid. Why this? Why this? And from that, I just loved understanding the behind the scenes of what it takes to be a basketball athlete. Because you don't see that on a day-to-day. No one knows how much work these athletes of any sport are putting in the background. And so I love that.
So what would you say you hope, whether it's athletes you're coaching or athletes you will be coaching, what do you hope they get out of working with you? And the reason why I say this, so with me, we actually talked about this a little bit before starting to record, is when you're going into any business, specifically a service business, because you don't make a lot of money most of the time, is if you made $1 million or you were broke, would you do the same job? And for me, I would still be doing this. I would still be working with the gyms because the reason I get up in the morning is because I want as healthy and successful of people as I possibly can. If everybody, when they're 95 or 100 years old, is running in, that 100-year-old division at a track meet, and they have like those, there's old guys that are running next to. If I could get every single person that I work with into the 100-year-old division at a track meet, and they're running it, or they're deadlifting, or they're whatever, when they're 90 years old, then that means they're able to pick up their grandkids. That means they're able to pick up their great-grandkids. That means they're able to mow the lawn or get in and out of the tub, or when they're 95, or they're able to go on a hike. No matter what they're doing, they can do it. And if I do my job right, I build a relationship with kids' relationship with exercise well, and then adults, I get them to be functional as long as they can. So for me, that's why I get up in the morning. And I hope that when people leave my service, that they get that. That's one thing that I would hope when we have young coaches and young trainers, that they have an idea on what that is. So what would you say when you're working with an athlete, what do you hope that they get out of working with you other than stronger, faster, more athletic?
Yeah. Some things that I would say I want these athletes to get working at AI and strength training is to build their confidence and be confident and know that they're capable of doing hard things, whether that's in your athletic realm or not in your day-to-day life as a young person, that it gives you the confidence to be able to go out there and do hard things and be successful. Or you fail and you learn, okay, that didn't work, and go back to the drawing board. I think I want these athletes to be resilient and just keep going at it day in and day out, and to work hard, because you don't know the limit to your potential unless you're pushing that ceiling all the way through.
So what comes next for Morgan Kane? Like from now, obviously you're going to be working with us for the rest of the summer, and then what?
Yep. So after we won the Big 12 and went to the NCAAs, I thought my career in basketball was over, just for the fact of graduating from Iowa State, being done with Iowa State. And a couple weeks into that, I was like, this sucks. I miss having teammates. I miss being in the gym. I just kind of felt lost. And that's something I know a lot of athletes go through when they're done with sports, of that identity of what next, And so my roommate of 4 years at Iowa State, who used to play Iowa State women's basketball, is at Nova Southeastern in Florida. And she was the person who redshirted with me.
Oh, that's fun.
My freshman year. And so she has one more year left, and she said, come down, we'll have a reunion in Florida. And I couldn't turn it down. So going to go play down there and get my master's in 1 year in exercise science.
That's so cool. What part of Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
Man, what a great place to
It'll
be.
be warm.
What a great place to be for just like a super senior year. You got to just go to practice, go chill on the beach. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a fantastic swan song into the athletics.
I'm just riding off into the sunset.
Literally into the sunset and on a beach. Oh, man. Well, I know that all the athletes love having you around, and that we love having you around. So thanks for stopping in and take some time and talking on a podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. And I love AI. I love the athletes. They're just such hard workers. When people ask me, how's work going this summer? First job, I love the athletes, and I'm doing it for the athletes. And it's so fun to see their confidence grow as they continue to get in the gym. Or if you're a newbie, you're getting to the gym and you're getting stronger and you're able to do something you couldn't do. Or I love when kids break records on their sprints, or they just jump the highest they've ever jumped. I just love celebrating the wins. And it gets me excited for all the potential that they have. That's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming in. Thanks for kind of being a part of it, and just, appreciate it. Well, thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to Fitter Every Day. For more information on our programs, locations, or any of the content that we have to offer, go to www.goldfinchathletics.com. And if you want us delivered directly to your mailbox, go to the newsletter tab while you're at the website. For any information or links mentioned in this episode, check the show notes. We'll check you next episode.